Nazardine Imavov knocks out Israel Adesanya. I've got the biggest grin on my face right now. In the second round. Brother, I couldn't believe my eyes watching this video, okay? Because I made my because I made my prediction with hope and somewhat of, it's not like it was unresearched and I just made it on a whim. I made my prediction thinking that was what was going to happen, okay? But it's a bit of a weird one with Izzy, right? He's in a bit of an unpredictable part of his career, but oh my god, was I shocked when I realized that my prediction was almost perfect, because I said Imavov by right hand down the pipe KO in the third round. So it happened in the second round, but I will say that this does back up a little bit the point that I made about the longer the fight goes on, the more I think Izzy is going to be likely to win. So I was kind of correct in that the earlier part of the fight was where Imavov was going to win, and I did think that he was going to knock Izzy out. I said in my prediction video, he's got more power than Izzy. Izzy has better precision and accuracy and ability to land a counter shot, but I believe that just raw power and striking ability is, well, not ability, but raw power and striking force, I give to Imavov, man. I could tell just from the things like the Cannonier fight and stuff like that, Imavov's got a strong, straight right hand, man. Really strong. And God, my eyes lit up like a fucking Christmas tree when I saw that shit land and Izzy starts to stumble back towards the cage. Oh, it's insane. But let's actually talk about the fight. So the first round was interesting. I believe from memory, it's actually a bit cloudy. I can't remember what happened throughout the entire event, except for that first round of Imavov versus Izzy, because I got so overwhelmed and just all locked in on the result once the second round came and the KO came 30 seconds into the round, you know. But I believe the first round went to Izzy from memory, and I think I was saying that he looked good. And that Imavov, maybe it didn't. I've got the statistics right here, ready? The first round, yeah, absolutely. Izzy outstruck him 20-8, and there was minimal grappling sequences. Yeah, I'm misremembering it because of, like I said, how my focus was completely tainted by the finish, but it was absurd. Man, I really want to point something out here. I made this prediction based on the fact that I said I think that if Izzy, who fought Dricus, shows up tonight, he could win. But I don't think he's going to have the ability to bring himself into that dark place that he was definitely able to take himself to prepare for Dricus, and arguably was beating Dricus until that fourth round. I think it was 2-1. I don't remember whether it was the third round that Dricus won or the second. I believe Izzy won the first round, but it was 2-1 going into that fourth round, and Dricus got in there. However, I just felt like coming off the back of the Strickland performance, he had something to prove. He had like the most he's ever had to prove in his career. Like not even close to the Pereira loss, where he had lost the fight, but he had won up until that point the fight, and it was the finish Pereira needed in that fifth round to secure his victory. Comes back and KOs Pereira. Absurd. Then that Strickland performance comes around, and I feel like there's just nothing to prove necessarily for Izzy in that fight, and it brought him to a defeat. And then after having been outclassed by Strickland, he goes into the Dricus fight with something to prove. And arguably, I believe that we saw a really good Izzy on that night. It's just that Dricus is fucking incredibly good. So in this fight, I was saying I don't know if Izzy's got the ability to force himself into that part of his mind to the same degree. Obviously, he's going to still, but like I don't know if you have, but you've all seen the clip of Izzy like training for the Dricus fight, and he's going, game over. Game over. Game over. Like he was locked the fuck in for that fight in that camp. You could tell the whole way through it, and the whole lead up to it. 100% he was locked in for that. This fight, didn't hear anything about him in the lead up to the fight. That's a bit different because it is a fight night and it's not a title fight. Yada yada yada. Him and Imavov don't speak the same language. You know how it goes. But I just didn't think that he was going to reach the same level. Now I was saying, I feel like if Izzy shows up even like 70 to 80 to 90% of the Izzy that showed up against Dricus, he probably can still win a decision against Imavov. But as I said in the prediction video, I did believe that if he doesn't come in perfect, Imavov is going to be so much harder than he will anticipate. And this isn't because he thinks Imavov is shit, which he might, but I don't know. But I'm not claiming that he thinks Imavov is shit. But he knows that Imavov is not Strickland, Pereira, or Dricus. And arguably, this performance may lead us to believe otherwise, but prior to his performance, he hadn't even been showing even the slightest shade of proof that he was as good or on the same level as Strickland, Dricus, and Pereira. Arguably, in the Strickland fight, he gave us a little bit of that, but it was a short notice fight for Strickland. He still lost. It was more just the fact that he was able to come back in the 5th round against Strickland. So, I really, 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 really want to see Imavov in a title fight, but I do not want to see him skip Hamza. This is the same thing I think that we had with Strickland and Hamza. I would argue it's a bit different because when Hamza got that finish over Robert Whittaker, we were all like, yeah, Strickland's last performance isn't even close to that. So why would we give this fight to Strickland next? Forgetting that we all said, majority of us at least, maybe not majority, but a lot of us said that Strickland beat Dricus on that night at UFC 297. And it was a split decision, so obviously a judge thought that Strickland had won that as well. So there was like a bit of leeway for everyone when the fight gets announced that we're like, yeah, this is what kind of the fight we expected. You know, this is what we thought was going to happen. But this time around, I do think this is arguably a better statement for Imavov than the Whittaker fight was for Hamza. Because Whittaker isn't the antithesis of Hamza. You know what I mean? He is not a style that is made to beat Hamza. Hamza is in fact somewhat of a style that is made to beat Whittaker, arguably. But Adesanya is, I won't say a style made to beat Imavov, but I will say that Imavov is not a style made to beat Adesanya. Not necessarily. Neither is Dricus, really. Actually, maybe he is. Maybe Dricus is somewhat of a style to beat Adesanya because you have to be so far from what Izzy is in terms of just technique and playing his game, which Dricus is so far from that it becomes hard for Izzy to combat. But Imavov played this fight in Izzy's world. He played Izzy's game. He let Izzy hold the cards. We were playing this on Izzy's home turf. There was takedowns, granted, from Imavov, and the commentary made a point that I agree with, that even if Imavov doesn't want these takedowns, he needs to make Izzy believe that there are going to be real takedowns later on in the fight. He can't just make him think that they're all feint takedowns, or they're all just only taking him down to make him think that a takedown's coming. He needed to at least attempt to actually get Izzy down, so that Izzy would be threatened by the idea of a takedown. And the striking, I would say, Israel has more striking talent than Imavov. I would still say that after this fight. But I still believed, and in my prediction video said this, that I think the power of Imavov is enough to beat Izzy. Izzy has fought good strikers, but he hasn't fought someone that's good and powerful. And Imavov is good and powerful, obviously aside from Pereira. But like, you've got like Acosta and stuff like that, but these guys aren't slick and technique based and stuff like that. And I guess I'd argue that Imavov isn't really that technique based either, but he's just a lot more of a clean on the feet striker that does have power, which is not Dricus and is not Strickland. Strickland is very clean on the feet striker, doesn't have power. Dricus is fucking just sloppy as shit on the feet, but he has a lot of power, okay? Imavov is a bit of a weird combination of not being that absurdly technical, but being technical enough and yet still having a lot of power, and more power than Izzy, obviously, which is, I've said multiple times now. So I definitely saw this coming, and to go back to what I was saying about the title fights, the next title fight, I believe that this statement for Imavov is bigger than Hamzat's statement over Whittaker. So I do believe that if we were to just go performance for performance, I'd say this actually makes Imavov more suited for a title fight because of the level of domination in the own realm of the fighter that he fought, being knocking out Israel Adesanya, who no one's ever done before besides Alex Pereira. I don't know if anyone else knocked him out in kickboxing. I just know the one out cold KO from Pereira, and it's a TKO that Pereira got in MMA. No one's actually knocked him out, and I guess I'm not sure if this actually counts as a KO or a TKO. But it's like this, he knocked Izzy out. That was bad. One big shot, the straight right hand that rocked Izzy, and then the nasty uppercut. Izzy was pretty much dead from that. Like, that was done. He didn't go to sleep, obviously, and he did get up after the fight ended. But there was a lot of ground and pound shots after that. Like, that was a knockout. He literally took Izzy to school in his own game, and that's very, very, very impressive. But my comparison to the Strickland and Hamzat title contention issue, just because this performance is better than the guy that is currently waiting in line for a title shot, doesn't mean that you just ignore that guy and act like, I know we said that you deserve it, and we said that your performance was better than everyone else's performances of this caliber at the title level in this division, but now another guy's done a bit better in the time that you've been waiting because you're under the impression that you're getting a title shot, so you can actually either wait or go fight someone else. So imagine it, like, the reason that we didn't do that to Strickland, even though a lot of people would have wanted to because of the Costa fight, but if you think about it more because of the Dricus fight, where it's like the Dricus fight, Strickland did really well, but then we look at the Hamzat Whittaker fight and we go, that's more impressive. But you got to give it to the guy that you've been telling for months that he's going to get the title shot next. That's why we give it to Strickland. And now, Imavov's performance is more impressive than Hamzat's, just based on getting the guy in his own realm and it not being like, you know, an injury to the jaw, blah, blah. There's a lot of reasons. I'm not shitting on Hamzat's performance at all, but just pointing these things out. Just because of that, you can't just turn around and say, yeah, you know what, Hamzat, you can wait. Okay, we're going to give Imavov the title shot first. That does leave us with the issue of what do we do with Imavov? Because who else does he really fight at middleweight? He just beat Izzy by knockout. You like, it's kind of unfair to make him fight Baralho next. Like, that would be a great number one contender fight, and I could see that happening. But I don't think he deserves to be given a fight down after just beating the guy by the guy who no one's KO'd by KO. So it's a weird spot for him. I think he should get a title fight in his next fight, but I don't know if he's going to want to sit out and wait for 18 months, because we need to, one, have this Dricus versus Strickland fight this week, okay, at UFC 312, and a Hamzat fight against a winner, with the possibility of a rematch in there, whether it's a DDP and Strickland rematch, or whether it's a Hamzat rematching whoever he fights in his title fight. There's very, very big possibility that we are getting 3 more title fights from the trio of Dricus, Strickland, and Hamzat, with one of them being a rematch and the other 2 being Strickland versus Dricus and Hamzat versus whoever is left over at the end of Strickland versus Dricus. So it's tough. I don't know what we do next. I'm not going to actually give a good example of what we should do next. It's just weird. But very happy for Imavov. I'd like to point out something to you that I find crazy, okay, just before we move on to the co-main event. I want you to consider how rapid of a change, okay, and try and tell me if there is another division that's had this rapid of a change, at least recently. Let me know, and I'm sure I'm not actually that against the idea that there probably is another one. I might even go look at it after this, but I won't stop in the middle of the video to check. What other division has had such a rapid change of talent? Okay, think about 2 years ago. What did middleweight look like? Even like 18 months ago. I'm talking just before UFC 290, pre-Whittaker versus Dricus. Okay, at the top of that division, you have Pereira, Whittaker, Izzy, Cannonier, Vettori, Costa. Okay? All of those guys. Pereira is gone. Izzy's on a 3-fight losing streak. Whittaker just lost to Hamzat. And Dricus before that, bar the Alascara fight. Cannonier's lost multiple fights in a row. Vittori's losing and back down in the rankings now. Costa's down at number 11 now after multiple losses. And in their places is Strickland, Dricus, Hamzat, Kayo, and Nasruddin Imavov. All fresh to this top 5, top 6, top 7 area. None of them were in it 18 months ago. I think Strickland was ranked 7 or 8 before the Izzy fight. That's mental. That the entire top 5 of that division is done now. Some of them are still obviously have possibilities and capabilities to come back. Obviously Pereira left the division. And Whittaker probably still will win some fights, but he's not going to get a title fight for a long time, I don't think. He's out of that picture. Cannonier is done and gone and too old at this point. Vittori, I don't know if he's ever going to get back into that top again. He's probably done. Paulo Costa is done, okay? And now Izzy is on a 3-fight losing streak and he's done. So, the entire division has changed. Okay, I just wanted to point that out because to me, that's a fucking mental thing to visualize. The entire top of that division. Not just like, of the top 5, 2 of them stuck around. The top 3 of them all got washed and then these 2 are still there with some 3 fresh new guys. No. Top, 7 people in that division 2 years ago are all gone. Or at least any that is still up there are losing and not getting title shots anymore. And everyone that's up there now was not there 18 months ago. Hamzat was not there 18 months ago. Strickland was not there 18 months ago. Dricus was not there 18 months ago. Kayo and Nasruddin Imavov were not there 18 months ago. So to me, that's pretty mental. So let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys for being here. And I'll see you guys all in the next Mixed Martial Arts video. Goodbye.